Well, good afternoon, Central Georgia. Thankfully, we remained unscathed from most of the major ice accumulations in Georgia. However, we're not yet in the clear because we have the potential for some storms. Now, if we look at all the 4 sky cameras across Central Georgia, we're seeing a gloomy setup. We're seeing mostly cloudy weather and a very foggy picture across most of our areas here in Central Georgia. Let's look at the current temperature right now in Macon or actually in Perry. 39 degrees. So we're seeing cold temperatures at the current moment for much of our area. Now, if we go down towards the south, we're seeing temperatures into the 50s and even into the upper 40s in Rochelle, Americus, and in Cordele. So we're seeing a stark temperature difference for places towards the southwest. And if we're seeing much colder temperatures for the majority of our area into the 30s and even the lower 40s, still around freezing for places such as Monticello, Eatonton, and for Sparta, which were only some of the places that received some ice in the overnight. Let's check out the headlines for the upcoming next couple of days. Strong storms possible for later this afternoon, especially as a line of rain and storms is inching closer towards our neck of the woods. And we'll have the potential for refreezing on Monday. Monday morning, we're going to clear up, but temperatures are going to be extremely low. Once again, below freezing. We're expecting morning lows to be into the upper 20s. So we're going to have a specific window where we'll have anything that falls today potentially refreezing for a short amount of time throughout Monday morning. But thankfully in the afternoon, pair temperatures that are going to be above freezing, and with sunshine, we should see a lot of melting for the afternoon. Now, we'll have an extremely cold wind chill values for Monday morning, as much of Central Georgia is within a cold weather advisory. And I'm expecting another cold weather advisory for Tuesday morning for potential wind chill values into the teens and even lower for places towards the northwest. So here's a look at the visibility across our area. Once again, it's extremely foggy. Seeing visibility values lower towards the east, seeing Swainsboro at around 0.3 nautical miles, 0.8 nautical miles in Vidalia, and 0.6 nautical miles in Telfair County. So all across the board, because of that wedge setup, we're having extremely low visibilities because of the fog and low cloud cover. And this is typical of what we see in a wedge setup, where colder air is being funneled in from the north and it's being trapped by the North Georgia mountains, causing cloud cover for our area. And we typically see a battleground of 2 different air masses in our area. So in Central Georgia, right now we're seeing that battleground of cold air and warmer air down towards the south. And because of that really big temperature difference, we have that potential for storms for later this afternoon. Now, looking at the feels like temperatures, we're seeing feels like temperatures a little bit lower towards the north. We're having wind chill values into the mid 20s and lower 30s in Macon. So while Macon is not below freezing in terms of actual temperatures, the feels like temperatures definitely feel around freezing. Now, taking a look at the temperatures across the country, we can still see that Arctic air mass in place up towards the north, which is one of the reasons why this winter storm has caused a lot of havoc for much of the country. Thankfully not for our area. Seeing temperatures around 9 degrees, 10 degrees in Kansas City, once again 9 degrees in Wichita, 20 degrees in Little Rock. Then as we get down towards the south, we have mid to lower 30s in Mississippi, upper Alabama seeing some 30s. And then we can see that difference in air mass around Montgomery into the lower 50s. Panama City still feeling nice and warm in the mid 70s. I wish I was there at the current moment. And also we're having that moisture being pumped in from the Gulf. From the Gulf, you see winds coming in from the south, and that's pumping in that humidity, that moisture needed not only for wintry weather from last night to occur for North Georgia, but now since we're replacing cold air with warmer air down towards the south, that is the 2 ingredients needed for storms to develop. Now, this is typically a setup that we typically see in the springtime, where we have humidity and warm air in place. So a line of thunderstorms are typically present throughout that time. Well, now we're seeing that at this point in the wintertime in January, which will cause a very interesting forecast, especially for today. So because we have the humidity, that moisture in place and warmer air down towards the south, much of Central Georgia is within a risk for severe weather, with a higher risk for places farther down towards the southwest where there's more warmer air. Now, in my honest opinion, because of the amount of cold air that we are currently seeing right now, I think the severe weather chances are decreasing for places such as Macon, Warner Robins, Perry, and Cochrane. I think it's just way too cold for anything really strong or really robust to occur. I think that level 2 out of 5 risk for places such as Cordele and the lower end of Crisp County, I think that still is valid because we're seeing that difference in temperature in those areas. We're seeing much warmer temperatures in the places within that level 2 out of 5 risk for severe weather. So if you're in that level 2 out of 5 risk of severe weather, I will say that you'll have a decent chance of maybe a strong to severe storms, but those chances decrease the colder you get, especially in more places in central Georgia. So because of that level 2 out of 5 risk for severe weather and because of the ingredients in place at the current moment, we have a tornado watch for Crisp County, and this lasts until 7 o'clock. Now, of course, one of the reasons why Crisp County was the only county in central Georgia in our viewing area to be in that tornado watch was because the rest of our area is once again too cold for much of severe weather to occur. So looking at the winds hasn't been that strong so far. Seeing sustained winds right now, if this map works, seeing sustained winds around 7 to 8 miles per hour, 14 mile per hour gusts in Milledgeville, but you can see stronger gusts of wind the more west we go. And that's actually the exact placement of the line of rain and storms that is currently present in Georgia. So looking at the line of rain and storms that has just crossed the Georgia-Alabama border, and it's actually getting into our westernmost counties at the current moment. So looking at the line already moving through Atlanta, and the more south we go, seeing more lightning, and that's where the warmer air is in place. So this is going to show my certainty that I think this will be a non-event. I think this will be mainly rain for much of central Georgia, but for our most southern counties, especially places within that level 2 risk for severe weather and that tornado watch, I think we'll have much more chances for stronger storms in those areas. It all depends on where the warmer air is currently placed. We also have a severe thunderstorm warning for places south of Alabama. So Dothan, Alabama is within the track of the severe thunderstorm warning. Near Cuthbert is where a severe thunderstorm warning is nearby. We also have a severe thunderstorm warning for the panhandle of Florida. So definitely it's looking more like a situation for South Georgia rather than most of central Georgia. I think that level 2 out of 5 risk is much more of an accurate representation of where the chances for severe weather is located. Now looking at the larger view of the satellite and radar, we actually have still some wintry mix for places farther towards the north. So we have wintry mix for much of the Carolinas, especially in Greenville, Columbia, Charlotte, and even near Augusta, but it's not widespread. It's very scattered in nature. And if we actually extend the view even more, much of the winter weather is confined for places much more towards the north. Near the Atlantic seaboard, you see much of Virginia experiencing freezing rain, wintry mix, and we also have snow for most of Pennsylvania, for New York, and for the New England area receiving snow. So it looks like the system is overall more towards east as compared towards yesterday. So in terms of winter weather chances for Georgia, it looks like it's decreasing as we get much more into the day. Now going back towards our neck of the woods, focusing on where the rain is located and what's going to happen for the rest of the afternoon. Upson County is receiving that line of rain, but as I mentioned, not seeing any lightning at the current moment. That's because the air is way too cold for any lightning. There's just not instability in those areas. But eventually that line is going to get into our area as we get into the afternoon. It's going to cruise through our area, moving from the west to east. And let me show you that with the model run. So here's the look at the models just to show you what that line is going to do. That line eventually is going to get into our westernmost counties by the next hour or so. And then it looks like it will get into Macon, Warner Robins, Unadilla, and Cordele by 3 to 4 o'clock. Now this model has temperatures increasing to the 50s and to the 60s by the next hour or so. I think that's not going to be the case. I think the warm air will be confined for places more towards the southwest, such as Crisp and Wilcox County. So in my honest opinion, I think Warner Robins and Macon, the severe thunderstorm chances are decreasing, but we'll still have that chance for places farther down to the south, such as Crisp and Wilcox County. But that rain and potential thunderstorms for places farther to the south will continue to move towards the east. By 4 o'clock, this model says it's going to get into places east of I-75, getting into Dodge County, Lawrence County, Johnson County, and Washington County by 4 to 5 o'clock. So relatively, it's going to be a fast mover as compared to our other lines of rain and storms that we've seen in the past. By 5 to 6 o'clock, it should be into our southeastern counties. And then eventually we'll be dealing with, once again, light rain and even steadier pockets of rain in some spots around the evening by 7 to 8 o'clock, beginning to dry up by the late night. And then we get into Monday morning, and that's when temperatures should go back to below freezing for much of our area. And this is what we're talking about having that potential window of refreezing. Now, I think it's going to be a short-lived window, so I don't think we'll see much in terms of refreezing. Could see some slippery spots for Monday morning, especially for your commute, but most of everything should melt once we get into the afternoon. Temperatures are going to be well above freezing, and then we're going to have mostly sunny skies. So pair the warmer than freezing temperatures with the sunny skies, and once again, you should have a lot of melting to occur. So here are the headlines. And last night, Ben and I, and also our meteorologist Danny De Silva, we were finding ways to simplify the forecast, because of course this is a crazy forecast. We're talking about wintry mix and wintry precipitation last night, and now we're talking about thunderstorms. So we divided the forecast in phases. So last night and this morning we had phase 1, where we had the potential for ice for our most northern counties. Now we have phase 2, where we have the potential for a line of showers and storms, which is currently it's currently ongoing for our most western counties. I'd say most of central Georgia will experience some heavy rain, and we could see those storm chances farther down towards the south. Then we have phase 3, as we have the potential for refreezing for Monday morning, but it looks like it's going to be a short-lived window of refreezing. Then once we get into the afternoon, we'll have mostly sunny skies and temperature above freezing, which should cause a lot of melting. Here's a look at the tornado potential. Now we have that tornado watch in place for Chris County. I was talking about how we have the ingredients in place for places farther down towards the south. So I'd say the tornado chances are higher for South Georgia in general, but we look towards this model and it shows the potential for our most southern counties. But because of the cold air in place, the tornado potential is confined for places more towards the south where the warmer air is present. So going over the next couple of hours, 3 o'clock, showing that low potential for tornadoes for Chris County. And then we get into 5 o'clock, still showing that chance for our southeastern counties, but still low, especially if we compare it towards that color table. And then we get into the evening, and those tornado chances will begin to dissipate as that system gets towards the east. Now, another factor of the forecast, of course, that I touched on a little bit in the beginning of the stream, is the very low wind chill values, the feels like temperatures. So, of course, we're talking about how temperatures should be into the upper 20s, which is still frigid. However, with the winds expected over the morning, the feels like temperatures are going to be very, very cold. So we'll get into the mid to late morning. Notice the feels like temperatures getting into the teens in Macon, and you also see shades of purple towards the northwest. Atlanta, Rome in the single digits. I don't think we'll be in the single digits for our neck of the woods, but I could easily see lower teens for places such as Jasper and Monroe County. And then we'll have warmer, or actually it feels weird to call it warmer because it's still extremely frigid feels like temperatures, as we're seeing upper teens in Dublin and lower 20s towards the south. But my point is, you could see very extreme feels like temperatures the more northwest you go, and that is definitely highlighted in that winter, the cold weather advisory that was issued by the National Weather Service. We get into Monday afternoon, even with temperatures being above freezing, the feels like temperatures will still be into the upper 20s and lower 30s. So you're definitely going to need a heavy coat all throughout tomorrow. Now, in my opinion, we haven't had a cold weather advisory yet issued for Tuesday morning, but in my opinion, I think Tuesday morning is going to feel even colder. Here's a look at the feels like temperatures for Tuesday morning. Notice Macon, it's forecasting around 10 degrees in terms of wind chill values, and colder stuff is expected the more northwest you go. Atlanta is expected to be in the single digits, closer to 0 degrees in terms of the wind chill value. So we haven't seen anything as cold as this since last year. I remember it was a couple days before that snow event that we had, where we had feels like temperatures in the teens and single digits, especially towards the north. So it's been a while since we had cold air like this, and it's definitely going to be the coldest air that we've had since that time. We get into Tuesday afternoon, and in terms of the overall wind chill values, it's going to get slightly warmer into the mid-30s. Still a very cold start to the work week, and then we're going to go back into the lower 20s in terms of the wind chill values by Wednesday morning. So honestly, the first half of the work week, you're definitely going to need a coat no matter what time of day it is. So because of the low wind chill values, as I mentioned, the National Weather Service has issued a cold weather advisory for much of the northwestern half of central Georgia. So this is because of the wind chills expected to be around 0 to 15 degrees. I'd say we'll be closer to the mid to lower teens in the areas shaded in the light purple for our area in central Georgia. So places within that cold weather advisory: Bibb County, Jones County, Putnam County, Jasper County, Monroe County, Crawford County, Peach County, Macon County, Taylor County, and Upson County. Now, once again, I do expect another cold weather advisory for Tuesday morning, as we're expecting even colder stuff throughout that time. So here are the main weather takeaways. So thankfully, we had only minor impacts for our most northern counties. Not the S, that's definitely a typo. But thankfully, we remain mostly unscathed from much of the impacts. The worst of the impacts were for the North Georgia mountains. But we're still not yet in the clear in terms of hazardous weather, because we have that storm risk for much of central Georgia. Now, in my opinion, I think that storm risk is now decreasing for places farther down towards the south, such as Chris County and potentially Dooley County, where the air is warmer. I think the thing that is helping us is the cold air because of the wedge causing cold air for much of our area. So I think that's going to help us throughout the rest of the afternoon in terms of very hazardous storm impacts. But we still have that low-end tornado chance for Chris County, as they're in a tornado watch. Then wet surfaces from all the rain that we're going to receive in the next couple of hours could potentially freeze over until Monday morning. However, the window in which temperatures are going to be below freezing is a short-lived window, so it could cause some slippery roads and sidewalks for a couple of hours throughout Monday morning, but then will melt pretty quickly in the afternoon once temperatures go above freezing, and we'll also have sunshine helping us a lot. So the weather impact alert is still in place throughout the rest of today. So it's from the rest of today until Monday morning. Now much of the impact will be the potential for strong storms. Now, once again, I'd say the higher potential for strong storms will be for places farther down towards the south. And then we have that potential for refreezing for tomorrow morning. So what's the need? Stay up to date and be aware of any warnings that you have in case there's a severe thunderstorm warning, or at worst, a tornado warning. And also be cautious driving, especially if you're going into places with widespread and heavy rain over the next couple of hours. And then by tomorrow morning, be cautious driving for the potential for some slippery roads. I don't think it will be very, very impactful, but just drive slower than what you usually drive. And here's a look at the 7-day forecast. That weather impact alert Monday morning, but thankfully the sunshine and temperatures above freezing will melt much of any accumulations that we have. And it's going to be a very cold week ahead. We have Tuesday, we'll have lows forecast to be into the mid-teens, expecting feels like temperatures to be lower than that. Wednesday, still extremely cold with mostly sunny skies. Cloud cover will begin to increase as we get closer towards the weekend. So that is the stream, and this is everything that you need to know with the latest updates for this afternoon, but we'll have more updates throughout the rest of the afternoon, especially in case we receive a severe thunderstorm warning or a tornado warning. We'll have a full staff of meteorologists here at the studio, so we'll go on air. We'll provide you the latest updates to keep you safe throughout the rest of the day and for tomorrow. Thank you very much, and hopefully have a great day, Central Georgia.